MSNBC host Joy Reid recently went on Twitter and just upset many of her followers. So it all started whenever she responded to a tweet about open and closed primaries for different states, and here's what she said. She said, "This demand that people outside a party get to choose the party's nominees is always amazing to me." The topic of open and closed primaries was really big in 2016 because in the primary between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, whether a state had an open or closed primary meant a lot in deciding which candidate would win that state. An open primary meant that any registered voter could vote for whoever they wanted in that state's primary, and a closed primary meant that only registered Democrats could vote in that Democratic Party primary and vice versa for Republicans. So this meant that in closed primaries, registered independents could not vote, and it turned out that independents overwhelmingly favored Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton. And so in states like Wisconsin and Michigan, independents would vote for Bernie over Hillary at a much greater margin. It was mostly about 75 to 25% margin that Bernie would beat Hillary in independent voters. So now Joy Reid from MSNBC wants to make the argument that we shouldn't have open primaries because she doesn't want people outside the party to choose the party leader. So it's true that a good amount of crossover voting does happen in open primaries, and mostly with Democrats voting in Republican primaries. And they do that to strategically vote for the weaker candidate on the other side to influence that party's leader. And this should not happen, which is why I think that each state should have a semi-closed primary. So this would mean that before a primary, each registered voter, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or Independent, would be able to choose which party's primary they want to participate in, and they would be able to vote in that party's primary only. And this would eliminate any crossover votes and would also allow independents to participate. But Joy Reid, along with other corporate establishment Democrats, don't want any sort of open primaries because they don't want independents to vote. They're more likely to get their establishment candidate as the leader of the party if they suppress the vote. They don't believe in democracy as much and are willing to deny the people the right to vote as long as they get their chosen leader. So back to what Joy Reid was tweeting about. She goes on to talk about Bernie supporters, and here's what she said. So she says, "This demand that people outside a party get to choose that party's nominees is always amazing to me. It's like saying, I'm not going to be your roommate, but I demand the right to help you choose an apartment since I might visit one day. In fact, not only do I not want to be your roommate, I intend to trash whatever apartment you pick when I visit, but please let me pick the place. Am I going to chip in on rent? No, that's your problem. Utilities, food, how dare you patronize me with your establishment corporatism." Then she says, "I have no intention of participating in any way in the maintenance of your apartment, but how dare you exclude me from the choice? Parties are like apartments. You chip in or you're a visitor. Feel free to bring wine when you drop by, but don't tell me how to decorate. Bernie and his followers are like that college friend who stays at your place for weeks, pays $0, eats your food, and trashes your aesthetic. Not saying they're not welcome to move in, but I'm sure the party would welcome them. But for now, they're that long-term couch friend." Joy, the topic of open primaries and closed primaries is not related at all to your apartment analogy. Bernie and his supporters are not someone who trashes your apartment. They're a vital part of the Democratic Party because they're the ones that are moving the party in the right direction. They're the ones that are fighting for more progressive policies for the party to adopt. They're the ones who moved Hillary farther to the left in the primary. Bernie is the one that is keeping the Democratic Party alive. He just went on a unity tour with DNC chair Tom Perez, so don't try to relate him to someone who doesn't want to keep up with the maintenance of your apartment. Bernie is fueling the Democratic Party and trying to unify it. More Bernie Sanders supporters voted for Hillary Clinton in the general election in 2016 than Hillary Clinton supporters voted for Obama in 2008. Don't compare Bernie supporters to that long-term couch friend. And so many people on Twitter were outraged by Joy's comments on this, and here's what they said. They're all responding to that one tweet where Joy says, "Bernie and his followers are like that college friend who stays at your place for weeks, pays $0, eats your food, and trashes your aesthetic." So one of them says, "Bernie's the guy who brought the crowd in the booze, and whenever he took a nap on the couch, Joy Reid dipped in his pockets and called the cops." And then other people said it in response to that same tweet, "Except Bernie broke fundraising records and Democrats get most of their money from corporations and Wall Street." Another person says, "Joy Reid, truly disappointed in you, Joy, for insulting the entire group, Bernie and his followers. May I remind you that Bernie raised over $200 million. $200 million came from Bernie Bros, not Wall Street. He also won the youngest voters by far. Millennials embraced his ideas." So Joy Reid is just wrong about all of this. Her comparison to Bernie and his supporters to someone who crashes her apartment doesn't make any sense at all. This is an argument that many Republicans might make, insulting people, calling them lazy, poor, and useless. Joy Reid deserves all the lost viewership she gets from this, and hopefully she gets people to realize that we that we need to include as many people as possible in primaries because that's what democracy is all about.